We're exceedingly excited. This is the first time that Wish has operated a shelter. And so it's going to be a 24/7 emergency temporary shelter for street-based sex workers. It will be the first of its kind in Canada. And in terms of the population that we serve and in terms of the landscape in the downtown east side, it's hugely needed. So we are about 4 to 6 weeks away from being able to welcome the first residents, and we're very excited about making that opportunity available. In terms of the space that we have and in terms of COVID protocols and making sure that it's safely distanced, the maximum amount we could fit is 23 beds. So we have 2 beds in a pod, head to foot, so that there's maximum amount of distance between 2 residents. And then we have 3, so those 20 in those 2-bed pods, and then there's 3 beds single in isolation in case there's anybody with COVID-positive COVID-like symptoms or who've tested positive and we haven't been able to move them to another location. They can be isolated in one of those 3, or when not being used that way, those 3 can be more like a crash bed. So if somebody just needs to sleep for a few hours for just one day, that's how those would be used. And so the goal of this shelter, like most other shelters throughout the downtown east side and in the city, is to ensure longer term housing. What we've seen at Wish and operating a drop-in for all of these years is that we have a huge number of women who are unhoused or precariously housed, or maybe trading sex for a place to stay, which is ultimately quite unsafe. So women have been using the Wish drop-in as a de facto shelter all of these years. We're really excited to actually have a space that women can rest and sleep uninterrupted properly, which then makes the drop-in space, allows us to operate it more like a full drop-in, increase our programming. That's a huge thing. We recognize that in the downtown east side, a co-ed space almost always de facto means a men's space. So all of us were advocating for, okay, well, what can Cnetre do if Wish did this? What can the Downtown East Side Women's Center do? And so we've all worked together very closely to make sure that whoever's operating it, that there's something available for women and gender diverse folks that is coming from a harm reduction approach, stigma breaking approach, and that all of the isms, especially around transphobia and racism, are handled in a really overt and respectful way. I've always been saying that what we saw in the downtown east side with the first wave was definitely not the impacts of COVID positive results. It was the deep exacerbation of pre-existing crises. And so, yes, because of COVID, windows opened, opportunities opened, some mobilization was possible to have this happen. The entire 24/7 respite space outside, the washroom trailer, peer witnessing, all of that has been in the last 6 months. It's been an overwhelming amount of programs and services that we've been able to introduce that we are going to work so hard to make sure is not clawed back when, quote unquote, things go back to normal, which is just not, it just cannot be an option.